Welcome to another episode of the Trailblazers Experience Podcast, the number one podcast for candid conversations with women, sharing their amazing career journeys and stories across multiple industries and sectors. My next guest today was Zelelapi Kaemba, who is currently a training and development consultant with over 15 years experience running her own business. She considers herself a facilitator with the goal of bringing out the best in people. Zelelapi, hi.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to being a guest on this show. It's been a long time coming, so I'm so happy to be here.
And you are worthy of being a guest. Such a trailblazer. I think your story will inspire someone out there. And let's talk about how
Definitely.
you've come to this point of running your own business and being an entrepreneur, because that journey must have started somewhere. Tell me
Yeah.
about your early years and your career so far.
Okay, sure. Well, if we take it back to the beginning, I was interested in IT, information technology, which is what I did at uni in the UK. Came back home, I got a job with an NGO, and I worked at that NGO for about 3 or 4 years, and then I left again. And then when I came back to Zambia, I worked for a compensation benefits company, and it was sort of an administrative role. But I must say, in both of these roles that I worked in for the 13 years I was in formal employment, I always leaned towards training and development. Whenever there was an opportunity to train people, or if they were looking for, volunteers to teach peers about processes or systems, I would always put my hand up because that's something that I always felt passionate about. Initially, I thought it was the IT thing, but things changed over the years. And then, to truly understand my transition, one has to understand why I left formal employment in the first place. So I was doing the training and development here and there at work, but I always felt that I could give more and reach more people if I did it on my own, if I went out on my own. So, yes, for most of my work life, I felt it was stifling my creativity. I was not given the space to actually reach my fullest potential. I felt that I wasn't pursuing my passions. And that's what led me to this role that I'm in now as the founder and CEO of Talent Capital Institute, which is a training institute. We do training for personal and professional development with individuals and corporates.
That's a significant transition, isn't it? To say, I'm tired of this rat race of working for other people. But then also to say, I've found my niche and this is the direction that I want to go in. Tell me about your experience of being a training and development consultant, and what are some of the lessons you probably and milestones you've learned along the way?
Yeah. Well, I must say before I answer that question that it's not to say that I feel being in formal employment is not good. It is good. I feel it's the best and safest way to earn a living. If you have a good paying job that takes care of all of your needs, it's perfect. If you're satisfied, you're doing what you love, it's absolutely fine. We do need those people who are in formal employment to keep, things going. I guess you have to know yourself as well and know your capabilities, your abilities, for you to know whether formal employment is for you or it isn't. And if it isn't, then all that it does is frustrates you, and it sort of saps away the motivation and the zeal to work. So that's also part of the reason. One of the things that really stood out in my career journey was that when you showcase your abilities, when you showcase your strengths and things that you know in the workplace, it sort of lifts you up and exposes you. And that's what helped me to be selected in certain projects or certain things that were happening in the workplace, because I wasn't afraid to showcase what I had to offer. And of course, your people that you work with will notice you, and you will be picked out to do certain things. So I always say that don't be afraid to be seen. I think the fear of being seen or being noticed at work really does affect somebody's progression in the workplace. So that's something that I learned along the way. The biggest milestone for me, I think, was my decision to pivot and pursue my entrepreneurial journey. This was obviously a big one for me because it came with a lot of doubts. I was trying to do this for a number of years. It came with a lot of, am I doing the right thing? Should I just stay in formal employment? But I also felt that I was running out of time because the years are going by, right? The years are going by, you're getting older, and you're thinking, do I have enough energy to actually go out there and do this on my own? But I was pushed to make that decision. And of course, taking that leap has taught me to be resilient, has taught me to be more of a risk taker. And it also opened me up to be willing to fail, pick myself up, and keep it going. As an entrepreneur, you have to have that bounce back ability, because you will fall so many times, but you always have to quickly pick yourself up and keep it going. So I guess those are some of the milestones and lessons that I've learned along the way.
That's so interesting, Zelelapi, because a lot of people are scared of making different decisions, are scared of taking the entrepreneurial journey. And there's this thing of what's the worst that can happen? You may try once, you pick yourself up, but to live a life of not even knowing how it would have panned out, if it was going to work out in the first place,
that was
is
my
far
worst
worse.
Fear. Yeah, that was my worst fear. So I literally just had to pick myself.
What are some of the projects that you're working on now? We're closing the year 2023. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you worked on that you think this is something that's really inspired me, has motivated me, and what are some of the things that you are taking from this year into the next?
Well, this year I've worked with several clients, and I think when you're doing training, the the thing that you take away is what your clients tell you at the end of your sessions or at the end of your trainings, the feedback that they give you, the change that you can see that you've made with those clients. That's really something that keeps me going. I did a talk with some young girls earlier this year. And the talk was about why be an entrepreneur. What's so great about being an entrepreneur and all that kind of stuff. So I talked them through it, and I could just see, there was so much enthusiasm with these young girls. So that kept me motivated, and you always feel like, well, from the response that you get, you always feel like, I think I'm doing the right thing. I think I'm on the right path. Because as a self-employed person, you always tend to think, is this the right thing? Should I just maybe just go back and get a job and get back into the rat race? But feedback that I've received from my clients, and the changes that I've seen in themselves and in their organizations, that's something that's kept me going. And I think for next year, I'm planning on doing a lot of work with younger people when they're adolescent stage. But yeah, that's something that I'm working on, which I think will be a good thing.
I mean, that's awesome. The ability to engage. Because do you find, I find this sometimes, LLP, when I look at young women and they're attending these networking events, they're coming to talks, they are participating actively in their own development, and they may come to the event nervous, but the fact that they've made the first step and said, you know what, instead of me just hanging around with my friends, I've decided to come and do something that will help and empower me. I think
Yeah.
is so inspiring. So when you saw those young women coming to hear you speak and empower them, were you not a bit shocked in a way to say, wow, this is really happening?
Yeah, I was really shocked because these were young girls, like in high school.
Yeah.
So I was quite shocked to see how interested they were in starting business. And some of them had started small businesses, whether it's selling headphones or phone covers, but at least they're doing something that's productive and, like you said, keeping them out of all of these other things that make them go the other way. But also, another thing that has been eating at me is the fact that I think for a long time we've focused on the young women, and I kind of feel like the young men have been left behind, and I'm starting to see that gap in society, in our communities. Young women are, go getters. They're the ones at the front of the line. They're the ones who are doing better in school. And I think because for a long time, the focus was on the girl child, right? We focused so much on the girl child that we forgot about
Mm.
the young boys who are now young men. So I think, like I was saying before, what I want to do is not only focus on one gender, but both, because I feel the young men also deserve to be given all of these opportunities and to be talked to and nurtured, so that at the end of the day, we have a society that has balanced men and women who are doing great things.
I totally agree. I mean, I'm the mother of boys, so
Yes,
I am also biased in that way. But you're right. We need that balance of,
yeah,
successful women, successful men. We need the
yeah,
allyship. We need the balance in that way.
definitely.
Scott Galloway is a professor, and he's writing a book specifically to talk about, masculinity, what that means today for the
Yeah,
young men of today.
yeah,
And, he, to your point, feels like there's been a lot of focus. What's happened in the world has been there's been so much focus on one gender, on one race, on one,
yes, yeah,
sexuality. But actually, we need to look at it as a whole.
yes,
Everyone needs to be given a chance. So how can we facilitate that
yeah.
for men and for women? I think is really important as well.
Yeah. So definitely that's something that I'm looking into.
So your skills, I mean, there's a lot about relationship building, skills development, strategic thinking, public speaking. Talk to me about, your role as a leader within your organization and how important that's been to developing and growing that.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, all of the skills that you've mentioned, relationship building, skills development, and strategic thinking are all important. And I think they're important in any leadership journey, because they're sort of intertwined, and all of these skills, sort of complement each other. So when you think about relationship building creates a good environment for skills development, right? And then strategic thinking sort of guides the direction and focus on these other two things. So I think as a leader, we have to we have to spread ourselves a bit and kind of tap into all of these skills and not just focus on one specific skill. So together, all of those three skills that you've mentioned, which I have shared, they contribute significantly to a leader's ability to inspire and motivate their team and to get their team to some kind of success. So for me as a leader, I think my team is quite small, but nevertheless, I think for me the skill that I mostly tap into for the work that I do is strategic thinking, especially also as an entrepreneur. I need to be able to have foresight, to anticipate, the trends. I need to be able to formulate plans, long-term plans, and I need to be able to think strategically to have a plan to help me to achieve all of those goals. So I think strategic thinking for any leader is a must. It can make or break you. So that's a skill that I'm always looking to sharpen. I'm always looking to learn more, because it's vital to the success of your team or your organization.
I mean, some great insights there. It's interesting when you are working with so many people, or developing or working on projects. It's thinking about how you lead and how you interact with people is a very big
Yes.
big part. And one thing that I love about your business, you are really working on short courses that focus on the continuous development. So you've broken development into little bite-sized chunks, so people can I always believe in incrementals, so people improving slowly over time if they're consistent with what they're doing.
Exactly. I mean, that's key. We have to keep learning. We have to keep learning, even just to remain relevant in our different roles. Even for myself, I mean, I'm a trainer, I'm a facilitator. One would think that I know it all, but things are changing every day. They're literally changing every day. So you have to have this continuous development where you're doing research, looking at what your peers are doing, how you can do it better, what you can do. So all of those things are part of what I incorporate even in my training and development. I'm always encouraging people to keep learning, and be eager to learn more, because that's the best way to remain relevant in today's world.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And talking about that, I mean, you've gone into some key strategic partnerships. So, for example, with the PACB, in terms of offering the expertise and certain training courses to develop the people within there. How do you network, Zelelapi, to A, develop yourself, B, be curious and learn new things, but also ultimately drum up new business?
Um, that is a very good question. I have a thing about networking, because we have all these networking events, right? Always being invited to networking events. But if you really think about it, if nothing actually comes out of that networking event, it's been a sheer waste of your time. It's been a complete waste of your time. You've just gone and stood for 2 hours chatting to people, exchanging numbers. Probably they'll never call you, or you will never call them. So I feel that, okay, those events are great just to be out there and, to tell the world that you're there. But the real networking, I think, is more one to one, more reaching out to. If I can see that, okay, Tola is someone that I would like to do business with, I'm not going to wait to meet you at an event. I can look for your details, call you, introduce myself, set up a meeting, see if we fit, and if we do, then we take it from there. So a lot of my partnerships have been either because somebody has reached out to me and said, "I like the work that you're doing. Is this something can we work on something together? This is what I have to offer. I think we can offer this to this partnership." And then yeah, definitely we will do something together. Or I reach out to certain companies, organizations, if I feel I can work with them, and I can use their platform to sort of put myself out there, especially with the organization that you mentioned, PCB. um, they provide a platform for trainers to train on their subject areas. So they'll teach you certain subjects, like for example, cybersecurity. If you're interested in cybersecurity, you can go through a program, and then you use their platform to sort of train people, or you can hire trainers from their organization you set up the training in your location, in your country, and use their name. So I think also always looking out for partnerships, always looking to see who's doing what and can I do something with them? How can I be of value to them and how can they be of value to me? I think that's what's important in a partnership. It just shouldn't be one-sided. It has to work both ways. I've had some great things happen doing things that way. So it's always good to reach out to people and see how you can work together.
There's so much power in digital nowadays, isn't it? I say, with your phone, you can start a business, or you can just be wasting your time scrolling endlessly,
Exactly.
or you can make connections. So there is
Definitely.
power in this thing, phone.
Yeah. Then you can be on
Um,
TikTok or you
um,
can do something useful.
exactly.
Yeah.
Time is of the essence of
Yeah.
how you spend that.
Yeah.
You touched on really one important point about values. What are your core values just for you as a person, and how does that help steer you in your professional and personal life?
Yeah. Core values. Interesting. We often have many as individuals, right? I believe in this, I'm this, I'm that. But I think for me, the main one is integrity. I believe in doing the right thing, even when nobody's watching. If I catch myself doing something that I shouldn't be doing, I feel guilty on my own. So to me, that tells me that, okay, I shouldn't be doing this if I'm feeling awkward about it. So integrity, honesty, I believe that, we should be honest with one another. It avoids so much um, drama, whether it's personal, whether it's business. If you have a service to deliver that you can't, rather than stringing your client along, just level with them and tell them. You know, integrity, honesty, having a strong work ethic. Being trustworthy. I think those are important. When people trust you, then they'll be more open to even doing business with you. So if you seem like an untrustworthy person because of maybe things that people have seen on social media, because everything is on social media now, so carrying yourself in a manner which people would be willing to do business with you, I think is a plus for me. So integrity, honesty, trustworthiness, and having a strong work ethic.
That's also considered the invisible PR, isn't it? Those are the
Yes,
things that are people are watching and
yes,
seeing and saying, okay, you know, holding yourself accountable, I think, is as well, like you said, when
exactly.
nobody's watching,
Yeah.
doing that sense check with you, saying, is this right? Does this sit well with me? Is a very, very good barometer for life.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
What are some challenges you faced, which either you've said, I've learned this lesson, I'm never going to put myself in that situation again professionally, or actually it's just been part of the learning curve in your journey?
Yeah. Well, moving from being in formal employment to working for myself, that transition definitely wasn't easy. And unfortunately for me, when I decided to go out on my own in 2019, a couple of months later, the world went on lockdown. So I was stuck with this business model that wasn't working because, we couldn't have physical contact with people. So that was the first and the biggest challenge, and it really made me sort of doubt what I was doing, because it was hard. I had to completely change my business model. I had to do everything online now from the get go. And of course, that meant that what I had planned wasn't going to work out. So I had to now become a social media manager. I had to become a content creator. I had to become an online trainer. I had to become a graphic designer. marketing, online marketing manager, all of these things all in one. And it was a lot to learn. And I must say, it was very challenging. But I guess that's part of being an entrepreneur. You have to be able to adapt to change very quickly. You can't dwell on those facts for too long. Oh, I'm not going to be able to do this. Should I wait until COVID is over until I start my business? So I had to quickly change my thought process and quickly change how I had designed my business. And now everything was online. So, even calls that I was making to people now had to become emails that I'm sending to lists of companies. It was difficult, but that was the biggest challenge. But I learned so much. I learned things that I probably wouldn't have learned in such a short period of time. And another challenge I faced being new on the market. I mean, I've been doing this for 4 years now. So now we've gained some traction, but the first year was quite hard because being new on the market, nobody knows you, right? Nobody knows you. You're in COVID. You can't go around talking to people. So it was hard as a new person, but I had to be patient and I had to learn that people will do business with you when they trust you, or they can see what you've done. And all you need really is just that one person to give you a chance. Just that one person to say, okay, you're new at this. Yeah, you sound like you know what you're doing, but okay, let's see how it goes. A lot of companies, especially if you're dealing with corporate training, a lot of companies want to see what you've done with other companies. And then if you say, but if you give me a chance, you won't be disappointed. I know I'm new at this, but just give me a chance. Most of them will shy away from that. But you just need to believe that, one person will give you that chance. And when those doors open, then that's it. That's it. You're gone. You start to create your portfolio, and more people start to respect you, and more people to start to trust what you're doing. So those are some of the challenges, and of course, the usual ones of trusting the wrong people. You know, we learned the hard way in business, trusting the wrong people. But again, it brings
That's a
me
very big
back.
one, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it brings me back to that bounce back ability that you need as somebody who's working for yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you are always getting shot down by these negative things that are happening to you, at the end of the month, when you have nothing, it's on you. You don't have a company salary to rely on. So you kind of have to block out those things. Of course, you learn from them. But also learn how to move forward and do better the next time.
You've just really just given some real tips, nuggets there, because entrepreneurship is not easy and there will
So
always be challenges. And the fact that you have to wear many hats
yes,
within your organization, you are the first employee and you are the one who's doing everything
yeah,
in the organization as well. And there's
yeah,
also, have you found now when you are maybe hiring a content person, they can't lie to you of what's not
no,
insurmountable because you've done it. You were the content person yourself.
exactly. You've done it, and I also feel like being an entrepreneur, being self-employed, you sort of become a control freak. Because even when I know that, okay, I can't do this, I have to hire someone to do it, you hire them and then you want to micromanage them because you're like, look, this is my baby. You might know what you're doing, but you don't know it like I do. So you kind of have to pull yourself away a bit and let people do the work that you hire them for. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Being an entrepreneur it's not for the faint-hearted, definitely.
Yeah, at that point where you're able to recruit people and then you can actually delegate, do you have to pinch yourself because you think, is this really happening? I can, I was a company of one, and now I'm having to entrust the trust element,
Yes.
not just trusting yourself, but trusting others. Well,
Yeah.
So most recently, Zelelapi, you appeared in a business and lifestyle magazine,
Yeah.
sharing tips about public speaking, which is
Yes.
also one of the things that your organization offers as well. Public speaking, I mean, we're public speaking right now in a digital format.
Yes.
Podcasting has now become a thing, vlogging, speaking in front of, corporates, and it's not a skill we're taught in school. I don't recall anyone teaching me about public speaking. So how did you decide that this is an area you want to specialize in?
I think most of everything that I do in my training and development comes from the desire to help people be the best that they can be. That's really what it is. So when I started, I had a number of subjects that I was training in. In fact, there were too many, so I had to narrow it down. But when I would advertise for public speaking, the response I would get would be overwhelming. So it sort of became our flagship course, right? And then I realized that, okay, actually, this is something that a lot of people struggle with. Some people don't have a problem with it. You're a natural public speaker, you've got the gift of the gab. It's not a problem, but a lot of people actually struggle with public speaking, and I think it's something that can even affect you at work if you fail to speak up, you fail to make contributions in a meeting, just because you have that fear to speak in public. I want to do is just help people be the best that they can be. And if public speaking is one way that you can do that, then I'm willing to help you do it.
There's also something about the confidence that it brings, isn't it? Learning to articulate yourself, how you assert yourself, your positioning, bringing your point across. It's not even just for, yes, I'm going to speak in front of 50 people, 100, but just day-to-day communication with people, whether it's with family or
Yeah,
your partner. I think it's something that helps you regardless of what you're doing.
yeah, it's communication. It's something that can help you in all areas of your life. In all areas of your life, work, personal, even friends, speaking with family. It's if you harness that public speaking skill, so it's definitely something that I encourage people
Mm.
to do. If you're somebody who shies away from it, definitely take up a few classes, even just online. Just learn a few things, one or two things that can help you to open yourself up. It's not that scary. It's not as
What are
scary
some
as
of the
it is.
foundations of public speaking? I think it's scary. I mean, the first time I had to present something in a business, they're like, "Yeah, this is what you have to present." I had printed it out, but I was still shivering. I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
And my boss at the time was like, "We can't hear what you're trying to say." I had to start all over again. It's nerve-wracking because you
it
don't know what the
is.
reaction is going to be. Are you going to be booed? Is no one going to say anything? Is no one going to respond? So
Yeah,
yeah.
those are very common, very very common fears. Very common fears.
Are there any
What?
tips that you give?
Yeah, sure. Um, I'll give you three tips. Three of my best tips. Um, three because three is a good number to remember. There's a lot of tips that we can share, but we'll be here for a long time. Three is a good number to remember. Usually, when you're presenting something, even when you're creating content, try to keep it to 3 points, because usually people will remember at least three things that you say. When you start to go into 5, 8, 10, people lose focus. The first one I would say is be authentic and be enthusiastic. The reason is people will relate with you if you're an authentic speaker. So what I've noticed is
Mm,
that even when I started out, actually, I was on YouTube looking at different speakers. How do people speak? What's their speaking style? How am I going to do this? And then you sort of mimic somebody else's speaking style, but that's their speaking style. They know why they speak like that. But then when you try and do it, you come off as fake, or you even fail to get your point across because you're just copying somebody's speaking style. So what I always tell my clients is be authentic about how you speak to people. Try and be more natural, like you're speaking to your friends, right? When you speak to your friends, it's easy, you're able to get your points across, and so on and so forth. So try to be natural, be enthusiastic. If you're giving a talk about something that you're interested in, talk about something that you're passionate about. If you're not interested in atomic energy, then don't go and give a talk about it, because first of all, you might not even understand the concepts well, you won't be well prepared, and when your audience can see through that, then they sort of lose that respect for you, and they're not able to connect with you. So definitely be authentic, be yourself, try to be a more natural speaker, and you would definitely. Number two, have the audacity to be bold. Boldness is I guess it's a personality trait, right? Some people are bolder than others, but when we talk about being bold in public speaking, I'm talking about being courageous. You know, having the ability to be fearless, daring, be bold enough to talk about those things that other people are afraid to talk about, because that's what will get people listening. We always need those people that are bold enough to talk about those subjects that are contentious, subjects that people are so afraid to even mention. But as a speaker, if you have that audacity to be unapologetically bold, then you open up people's minds, you inspire them, you motivate them by speaking your truth. So if we use maybe Martin Luther King as an example, that speech that he did, we're still referring to it today. So that's just an example of somebody being bold, speaking their truth, speaking about things that at that time people were so afraid to talk about. So I would say be bold about whatever it is that you want to speak about. My final tip is confidence. You talked about confidence earlier. Confidence as a speaker. Being confident and having positive affirmations, positive energy would definitely help get rid of those jitters, those fears that we feel when we are called to speak in public. So how can you get confidence? 3 P's of public speaking: prepare, plan, practice. See, those are the three points. Prepare, plan, practice. Prepare what you're going to talk about, plan how you're going to articulate yourself, plan how you're going to deliver the message, and practice it. That will help you build your confidence. I think we're usually afraid or have this fear of public speaking when we haven't done those 3 things. You're afraid of your material because you haven't prepared enough. You're afraid of your audience because you haven't planned how to talk to them. And then you're afraid of yourself because you haven't practiced. So even the best public speakers will practice and practice and practice. Of course, we do have natural born speakers, but even they practice their skill. So doing that will help you build your confidence. And I think be kind to yourself. Speak positively to yourself. Have a positive self-image about yourself. Think about yourself as having great stage presence. Think about yourself as being confident. And then when you actually do it, that's how you deliver it. But if you're constantly thinking about, the negative side of it, oh, I'm going to be shaking, I'm going to be sweating, I'm going to forget everything that I've said, that's probably what will happen. But always speaking positively to yourself definitely makes that whole experience much more enjoyable, and it just helps you build confidence. So those are my three tips on public speaking.
Awesome. I mean, fail to prepare, prepare to fail, isn't it? Is
Exactly. Exactly.
one of those. You've articulated it so well.
Yeah,
Yeah, in terms of what's needed, from the mindset, from the preparation, from the oratory skills that are needed. I think you've really found a niche actually in the market. To your point of when you were looking at the different training and development your
yeah.
business would offer, the fact that you found a niche of things that will resonate. I think public speaking is something that I don't remember, like I said, growing up that it was taught. You
Yeah.
looked and
I wish
watched,
they would
the
teach
news
us
and
this
saw
at
how
school,
people
you know?
articulated themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah,
would help a great
yeah.
deal when you start
I think
working,
there's opportunity
go
there.
out in life. Yeah, it's definitely something that should be added to the
Maybe that's
curriculum.
a partnership opportunity for you.
Yes, definitely. See, just by talking to you, I'm writing down this idea. Come January, contact
Yeah,
school
no,
public
honestly, I think,
speaking. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Just contact a few, contact public schools, state schools, and see what might that bring, because
Yeah.
I think it's relevant. It's something that's relevant. It's a life skill that will help, for years to come,
Yes,
once
yes,
you've mastered it. Zelapi, you've shared so many amazing things, about your journey and, taking the plunge to say, I've studied, I've gone to university, I've worked, for somebody else, and now I've made a decision to start my own business. And it's a very big step. I admire anyone who's an entrepreneur because sometimes it's circumstance that plunges you into that, but also sometimes it's just a decision that you've made and you've chosen something that I think is resonating, whether it's with young women, young men, organizations. There is no age barrier to the training that you are looking to offer. So we're going to talk about self-care,
Oh, yes,
self-care and work-life balance. What does that
definitely,
mean to you?
definitely. Um, this one is a really good one. Self-care is something that I think we don't deliberately think about. I think it's something that you
Mm,
only do when you feel like, oh, I'm feeling some type of way, or we don't deliberately think about it. We don't incorporate it into our daily lives or routines or whatever it may be. So maintaining a healthy work-life balance for me means that I must be self-aware. I must know myself well enough to know when I'm getting to that stage where I'm getting stressed, I'm getting depressed, um, I'm not motivated, I'm feeling sluggish, I don't want to work, I'm making excuses, I'm procrastinating. You need to know the signs for yourself when you're getting to that stage, because what that means is that you're neglecting yourself. You're not taking care of yourself. You're not doing those things
mm,
that will keep you motivated and keep you on top of things. So I think the key is knowing who you are. Be self-aware. Just know
mm,
what gets you down. Know when you're getting to that slump before you actually get to a point where you have to do so much more work to get back to where you are. So for me, those things look like maintaining a healthy lifestyle, exercising, eating eating good food. Of course, sometimes, I fall back a bit, especially on the exercise. And I've noticed that when I do that, I generally don't feel that great. I'm irritable, I'm not that happy. And then I realized that, oh, okay, why am I feeling like this? Reflection, why am I feeling like this? Oh, it's because I'm not exercising. Exercise helps to release that stress and that tension that we feel. So Maintaining a healthy lifestyle is definitely something. And also not feeling guilty about taking care of yourself, right? Oftentimes, especially for people who work for themselves, they feel like I can't take a break. Or, people who are workaholics, I can't take a break. I need to keep it going. I need to work all the time. That's when they feel that they're doing something. But what I do is recognize my wins, small wins, even the very small wins. And when I do that, it helps me feel less guilty about treating myself or taking care of myself. So, I think that helps, like keeping track of the achievements that you've made, keeping track of your wins, and then connecting that to, oh wow, I did great. I actually do deserve a break, just to get back into it. And then when you do take a break, your creativity opens up. You're able to think about, new things that you can do, other ways that you can improve your business or your work and so on. And also, I think what's important is having someone to talk to, having, whether it's a life coach or a mentor or a friend, wife, a husband, a partner, whoever that person is, have somebody that you can talk to about the pressures that you're going through at work, seek guidance, and share the burden. I've found that in my entrepreneurial journey, it's often a very lonely place, especially if you're surrounded by peers who are working full time. We have very different stresses and pressures. So you might be explaining something to someone and they just don't get it because they're like, oh, don't worry about it. At the end of the month, you still get paid. And it's like, no, actually, I won't. So we have different pressures, we have different stresses. It's a very lonely life. So you have to have somebody who you can share with, so as not to get yourself, down in the dumps. I think, yeah, those are some of the things that I do to just balance this whole work life thing that we're doing.
I mean, you've touched on three important points: health, great food, and having an amazing circle, isn't it? It's like the circle of life. Life is too short to
It is.
just be working all the time. You have to embrace those, like you said, those wins, isn't it? Those small wins, those small moments, is really key. So for anyone out there, and also defining what self-care means to you, isn't it? It's different for so many people
Different, yeah,
as well.
yeah. Exactly. That's why I talked about self-awareness. You really just have to know yourself and who you are and what that self-care means to you.
Developing a high self-awareness. That's a really good nugget there.
Yes.
Picking up on. Let's talk about Trailblazer takeaway tips. You've, shared so many amazing tips, stories, but let's circle back as to if you were to impart knowledge to the audience out there, what are your Trailblazer takeaway tips?
Okay. In my field, I think something for people to take home would be, first and foremost, get the correct training, get the necessary training for whatever training that you want to, or facilitation that you want to do. I see a lot of people calling themselves trainers and facilitators without any formal training, or life coaches. Even life coaches go through training. You need to be able to. You need to train in order to help somebody. In order to coach them through their life. So I think getting the necessary training is very important, because what it does is makes you credible. And I think individuals and companies alike will respect that more, and it will help your potential clients to be more open to working with you. So I think getting training, that's one of the first things that I did when I went out on my own. Even before I started, I said, okay, I've got a degree in entrepreneurship and business, I've got my IT qualification, but I'm not a qualified trainer. So I need to go out and get that training because I didn't want to feel like I'm an imposter, like I'm training people and I don't actually have any training qualification. I don't know methodologies of training. I don't know how to even do a training needs analysis and all of those things. So I think getting the proper training is a must. It will help you feel more confident and definitely make you more credible to potential clients. Another thing is to know your subject areas very early on. I made a mistake in the beginning because I thought if I'm training in so many different things and I'm gonna have so many different clients. But that made me just spread myself too thin and I struggled with
Too
content
broad, isn't it?
creation. Yeah. I really struggled with content creation because you're creating content for so many different programs. So I had to narrow it down and find things that I actually liked and that I was good at. So knowing what you want to train in very early on will help you get to your goals faster. Um, what else? Research. Do your research. See what other people are doing out there. It really helps you start on the right foot. See what other trainers are doing. See what technologies are out there. How you can make your work easier. There's so many applications and so many processes that you can use that will make your life easier, especially if you're doing online training. There's so many things that you can do to make your life easier, to help you be more productive and effective as well. And I would say also keep learning. Keep learning. It never ends. It never ends. The moment I feel like, oh, I know this very well. I know about public speaking very well. I see somebody else talking about something else, and I'm like, what? When did that happen? So it's always important to keep learning. Um, just be eager to know more. That's something that has kept me on my toes. And also collaboration. We talked about collaboration earlier on. I think in this field, it's really important to be open to collaborate with other facilitators or other trainers. I have been in a situation where a client has given me a proposal. They want this specific type of training, which I can do. And then they want another type of training, which I'm not an expert at. So rather than throw away that business opportunity, call, somebody else and say, oh, do you think you can do this? It's training in, another subject that I'm not portfolio. It builds your portfolio. So I think collaborating is something that I'm very open to, and that's helped me. A lot of people are afraid that when they collaborate with others, they'll steal their ideas. We have this thing like, oh no, if I show this person how I do things, or if I introduce them to this client, they'll steal my ideas. But your ideas are your ideas. Even if somebody steals them, they might not be able to deliver them in the way that you would, which might be more impactful. So let's not be afraid to collaborate and bring and create partnerships and build strong networks. Yeah, and I think like with everything in life, don't give up. Don't give up. Whether it's you're in formal employment, you're an entrepreneur, whatever it is that you're giving. I think not giving up when things seem so bleak, when things seem so hard, no work is coming in, or you're feeling like you're not progressing in your job. You sort of feel stuck. Just don't give up. Keep going. Keep going. Change the story somehow. Do something different. But we have to keep going because at the end of the day, if you give up, then you won't know how far you'll be able to go. So that's my thing, especially on this entrepreneurial journey. It's very easy to be discouraged. Very easy to be discouraged, but you have to keep going and not give up on yourself because it's, for me anyway, it's my name on the line. So that's something that keeps me motivated. I cannot give up because it's my name on the line. I don't want to disappoint my family. I don't want to disappoint myself. And I don't want to disappoint people who believe in me, So let's keep it moving.
Zelelapi, this has been brilliant. I mean, one of your secret weapons, I think, is your mindset, and you've demonstrated that. You're proactive, you have a clear vision of what you're trying to do for your business. There's resilience, a high self-awareness is there, and you've tapped into a niche, especially in Zambia and Southern Africa, of delivering training and development, because I think growing up we've always thought it's secondary school, some vocation, some university or college, and that was it. But you've tapped into a niche of a sector that I think is really needed and is well served and will support and hopefully uplift and bring up the next generation of public speakers and other, training and development methodologies that you're sharing and bringing to them. So thank you for sharing your journey. I think there's someone out there listening who's saying, I think this is for me, and I could potentially go in that direction. So
Yeah, I hope
it's been a
so.
pleasure.
Even if it's just one person, then I'll be happy. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
That's all you need, isn't it?
Do you know what? Actually, doing this has helped me revive some of those things that I had forgotten about, like why I'm doing this. Just talking about it, I'm like, wow, this is great. So please keep doing this. Please keep helping us remember where we started from, where we're going, what's happened in between. Because as you're doing it day to day, you sort of forget even where you came from, And it's those wins that I was talking about. Now I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, it's actually been 4 years I've been doing this. I've come a long way. So thank you for this. It's been great. Absolutely lovely.
Yeah, that's the whole idea, to celebrate the wins, the achievements, the journey of amazing women. So, on that note, thank you so much, everyone. You know where to find the podcast. We're on all streaming platforms, audio and video. And until next time, thank you.